So, hi, everybody. It's Jorie Houlihan, and it's Topic Tuesday. I'm your guide for the dopamine deprived. Every Tuesday, I come on here live at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time to talk about something ADHD related. So, um, you know how we struggle to do the thing, right? When our dopamine's low, et cetera, sometimes we struggle to get started and we tend to feel really crappy about ourselves as a result of it. But sometimes it isn't because we don't want to do it, right? Sometimes it's that your brain is just literally out of fuel. So today we're going to talk about something that I don't think gets talked about enough, and that is executive function fatigue, which is a very real thing. It is that state where even brushing your teeth, sending a text, um, deciding what to have for dinner, what to wear for work, just it feels like a mountain that you're trying to climb. So a fascinating thing I found out is that neurotypical people just brush their teeth. They don't even think about it. It is literally a conscious decision every time I do it. I don't know about you guys, but I have been told by other neurodivergent people that that is also the case for them. So it's not just you if you've wondered that. Anyway, but the thing is that it's not laziness, it's not entitlement, it's not because we're not competent. It is just simply that the brain has no fuel to go on. So, what is executive function fatigue? It is, sorry, let me take a look at my notes here. So, executive functions are the brain's management system, right? So, prioritizing, organizing, decision making, self regulation are all part of that. And these are all things that we struggle with. And so those systems are already working overtime. And so every choice, every transition, remember we talked a couple weeks ago about how transitions can be a struggle for us. Every demand, even if it's really small, it just pulls at our already limited pool of energy. And so what happens is that tank eventually runs dry. And it's sort of like if you're trying to keep all your apps running on your phone that has like 1% battery in it, right? Like that's not going to go well. That's not going to end well for you. And there's no amount of willpower that's suddenly going to make your phone last longer. You just have to recharge your phone. And it's the same for you. So, what drains the tank, so to speak? What makes it so fatiguing? So, the first thing is just the decision overload. Um, Decision fatigue, very real. You have too many small choices and it just saps away at that energy. Shoop, shoop, shoop. And it's not fun. The constant context switching, right? So switching tasks can burn that fuel. Switching from one type of task to another type of task. This kind of goes back to the transition part of it, right? That if you don't give yourself an adequate amount of time to transition, that will take away your energy as well. The emotional labor, right? Managing your feelings, and unfortunately, some of us also are trying to manage other people's feelings, is exhausting. If you are one of those people, this is just a side note, if you're one of those people who's trying to control other people's emotions, please stop because it will do you no good. They will not, you cannot make anybody feel any certain way. So manage your own. They are their own problem. Okay. Um, Another thing that will pull from the tank is masking, and the self-monitoring, right? Like trying to pretend that we're quote unquote normal or neurotypical or whatever that means is so draining. It is so exhausting. I will tell you, and this happened to me too. I get told this a lot, where they'll say, after I got diagnosed, I felt like my symptoms actually got worse. And I felt the same way, but I realized that it really wasn't that my symptoms were getting worse. I was just not masking as much. That diagnosis was incredibly validating, and it sort of gave my brain this unconscious permission to like start to drop the mask a little bit. And so, but it seemed like, oh gosh, it's getting worse, but it wasn't. My brain was like, we're tired. You've been masking for 49 years. It's time to let some things go. But meanwhile, masking is still a big part of it, and it is very exhausting. And then the lack of recovery time, right? So when you don't have any buffer time between your commitments, it will mean that you don't have time to charge. So it isn't just about being quote unquote tired. It is about your executive function saying, we've tapped out. You just got to stop. So how can you replenish the tank? Um, so you can't just push through. You can't. All right. You're already on the road to burnout if you weren't already. You can't push through, but you can recharge yourself. So the first thing is you have to lower the bar. Now, I know a lot of you just went, what? Right? Because we're perfectionists, which is not a good thing either. That also takes energy. Um, Pick the smallest possible next step to do. And for example, instead of make dinner, it could be put a frozen pizza in the oven or even just turn the oven on, right? Something really small. What you are looking for is just a way to replenish yourself a little bit, not use so much energy. The idea of making dinner for a lot of us is very overwhelming. I mean, we have to feed our kids every night? Of course we do. However, it's exhausting and it's overwhelming. And so doing just the smallest step, okay? The smallest step is super helpful. You need to build in recovery zones, okay? There should be white space on your calendar. Do not try to do one of these things where you try to map out every minute on your calendar because, first of all, you're never going to stick to that. Ask me how I know that one. And also, it's not healthy. You need buffer time, you need transition time. There should be white space in that calendar. All right? Rest is not wasted time. Okay? It is maintenance. It is self-care. It is non-negotiable. There. You also want to reduce micro decisions. So you want to try to automate as many things as possible, like meals, outfits, the routines that you have. So we kind of talked about this, I think, before, but so for example, how would you automate meals? I mean, obviously you could have like a dinner service that drops off whatever, but what some people do, and this just takes out one of the steps of meal planning, which is meatless Monday, taco Tuesday, pasta Wednesday, leftover Thursday, eating out Friday. Like when you know exactly like this is what we're having is Monday, it limits now it narrows down the scope of your choices for that day. That alone can be super helpful. That helps to take off the mental load a lot. Okay. Some people, when it comes to their outfits, they will have like a pod where they will have like, 3 tops, a couple of slacks or skirts, and some fun accessories. And then they just mix the match throughout the week. Again, it just helps to take off the mental load. And trying to do it the night before is usually really helpful because in the morning, when your brain is not quite like on fire yet, every little decision you have to make eats away at that tank. And it does it even more so because you're tired. Whereas if you do it the day before, I always tell my clients, and I do this too, the top 3 tasks that you are prioritizing for the next day, you need to do that the night before whenever possible. So that way, that's one less thing you have to think about in the morning. You just can get started on it. Um, and the reason for all of this is just simple. The fewer the choices, the less energy that you get drained on. So, and then 2 more things. The first is body first, brain second. Sleep, hydration, movement, all of these things replenish your brain. Do you know what's worse when I get terrible sleep? My symptoms. Do you know what's worse when I'm hungry? My symptoms. I get hangry on top of it. So no one wants that. So it is really important to make sure that your physical body is being taken care of because that also helps your mental. It just helps your brain work better. Okay. Even sometimes a glass of water and a stretch. I'm really surprised at how good I feel after just like a nice little stretch. There's just something about it. It's kind of energizing. Anyway, but something to think about. And then lastly, name it. Say, you know what? This isn't laziness. This is executive function fatigue. By doing that, you are taking the shame out of it, right? And when you can take the shame out of it, it makes it much easier to move forward. Shame is surround it, shame surrounds so much of ADHD. But when we can start to name what our challenges are and come from a place of curiosity, as I talk about a lot, it just takes so much pressure off. So that is what I recommend at this point. Those are the things that I would recommend to help you sort of replenish yourself, to recharge yourself. Because remember, it's not executive function fatigue is not failure. You're not broken. It just means your brain is just trying to tell you that you need to recharge. And when you respect that, when you listen to it, um, and give yourself that recovery time, you are going to find it much easier to restart later. So the next time you feel like your brain is sort of running on empty, I want you to, instead of trying to push harder, which never works in this kind of scenario, ask yourself, what would be a really good recharge for me right now? What would make me feel recharged? And then do that, right? I know for myself, especially when it's nice weather, going and sitting at my koi pond, even for 5 minutes, I feel so much better after I do that. In the winter, maybe I go for an extra walk or maybe I take my bath a little earlier or whatever, but find the things that recharge you. Okay. So let me know in the comments, what is one task that tends to feel impossible when your tank is low, right? When your brain is out of gas. And then the other thing I'd like to know is, what do you do to recharge your brain? What is something that has been very helpful for you? I would love to know that as well. So definitely put those in the comments. And also, if there is a topic that you would like me to cover, definitely let me know in the comments as well. And in case you haven't seen, I have released the trailer to the new podcast that I am launching on October 14th, but the trailer is done, so you can go and check that out. I'm super excited about it. And if there's any topics that you want me to cover on the podcast, let me know as well. All right. So until next Tuesday, I will see you then. And a week from tomorrow, right, is the monthly Q&A for those of you who are the paid subscribers. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. All righty. Have a great, great week.